All right, let's dive into a really powerful idea from Gary Keller's best-selling book, The One Thing. Now, this is a concept that could completely flip how you think about success and productivity. So let's get right into it.
So let me start by asking you something that might sound a little backwards. We're constantly told to hustle, to do more, to pile more and more onto our plates. But what if the actual secret to getting extraordinary results is to do less, not more?
You see, the core idea of the book is beautifully simple. The path to getting what you want lies in focusing on just one thing. Let's break down what that really means. There's this classic scene from the movie City Slickers that just nails this idea perfectly. You've got this wise old cowboy, Curly, who boils the secret of life down to a single focus. And of course, the big challenge isn't just understanding the concepts, it's figuring out what your own one thing is.
Now, when we talk about going small, this isn't about having small ambitions. No way. It's actually the opposite. It's about ignoring all the million things you could be doing and instead zeroing in on the one thing you absolutely should be doing, the one thing that will make the biggest difference.
Okay, so how does this intense focus lead to such massive results? Well, the best way to picture it is with the domino effect. And we're not just talking about a simple chain reaction. We're talking about something that grows exponentially.
And get this, there's actual science behind it. It's called a geometric progression. A physicist discovered that a single domino can knock over another domino that's 50% larger than itself. So think about that. This isn't a one-for-one trade, it's an amplifying force.
And this right here, this is where it all begins. It all starts with that one single well-aimed push. Your job is to find your lead domino, your one thing, and pour all your energy into knocking that one over.
The potential here is just mind-blowing. Let's say you start with a tiny 2-inch domino. By the 23rd domino in the sequence, you've got something taller than the Eiffel Tower. By the 31st, it's bigger than Mount Everest. And the 57th domino? It would literally be tall enough to build a bridge from the Earth to the Moon. That is the power of focusing on one thing, sequentially.
So the huge takeaway here is this. Big success isn't about trying to do everything at once. It just doesn't work that way. Success is built one step at a time, one domino at a time. You do the right thing first, then the next right thing, and that's how you build unstoppable momentum.
But look, to actually put this into practice, we first have to unlearn some pretty big lies about productivity. And the first one that trips almost everyone up is this idea that everything on our to-do list matters equally.
Oh, we've all been there, right? Staring at a to-do list that's a mile long. And yeah, it feels good to check stuff off, but are we actually moving the needle? So often, these lists are just a giant jumble of trivia that keep us busy, but not truly productive on the things that matter.
This is where we need to make a huge distinction. A to-do list is basically just a brain dump, a disorganized directory. A success list, on the other hand, is completely different. It's short, it's focused, and it's been ruthlessly prioritized to point you towards your most important goal.
So how do we build this success list? We use a tool you've probably heard of, the 80-20 principle, or Pareto's principle. It's this wild but true idea that a small fraction of your efforts, about 20%, is responsible for the vast majority of your results, about 80%.
Think about it in your own work. Which 20% of your activities create 80% of your value? Or if you're in sales, you know that 20% of your clients probably bring in 80% of the revenue. The trick is to identify that vital 20% and pour your energy there, because that's where you'll get massive, disproportionate results.
Okay, let's tackle the next big lie. And oh boy, this is one we have all been guilty of. The myth that multitasking is some kind of superpower we should be proud of. So some researchers over at Stanford University wanted to really put this to the test. They took 262 students and divided them into groups based on how much they multitasked. The logical assumption, right, was that the people who multitasked all the time would be the best at it. But the results were the complete opposite. The lead researcher, a guy named Clifford Noss, said he was shocked. The heavy multitaskers were worse at filtering out irrelevant information, they were worse at organizing their thoughts, and they were worse at switching from one task to another. As he put it, they were just lousy at everything. Ouch. So let's just put this myth to bed once and for all. Multitasking isn't a strength, it's a trap. It doesn't mean you're getting more done. It just means you're splitting your focus and giving yourself the chance to do multiple things poorly. So if we know that not everything matters equally, and we know that multitasking is a total lie, how in the world do we find that one single point of focus?
How do we find our lead domino?
Well, the method is to take that 80-20 principle we talked about and just take it to the extreme. You find the top 20% of your priorities. Great. Now you take that smaller list and you apply the 80-20 rule to it again. You just keep going until there's only one thing left.
Let's see how this actually works. Imagine you start with a big list, say 25 things you feel like you need to do. You apply the 80-20 rule and you whittle that down to the 5 most important items. Then you do it one more time to that list of 5, and bam, you found it. That is your one thing.
And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you use this process in your day-to-day life, in any situation, to find your absolute top priority?
And this brings us to the single most powerful, actionable tool in the entire book. It's called the focusing question. You can ask this about anything, your career, your health, your relationships, even what to do this afternoon. What's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? This is the question that finds your lead domino.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with that very question. When you think about your biggest goal, your most important project, or even just what you need to get done today, what is your one thing? Because finding the answer to that, well, it might just change everything.